Hey, how's it going everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tree of Savior dungeon series. In this one we're going to talk about the Hollow Thorn Forest, the 145 dungeon located on Forest of Prayer, right next to the 130 dungeon, which is Fallen Legwind. And in case you haven't done so, check my previous video about the Fallen Legwind dungeon, where you can get all the details about that dungeon and compare to this one and to all the dungeons I'll do in the series, so you can figure out which one is the right dungeon for you. So let's get on with this. The 145 dungeon is probably the most farmed dungeon in Tree of Savior when we're talking about farming for pure silver. Now, before we actually start, one thing I'd like to tell you is that IMC has already stated that they want to change the way dungeons work, the way they are organized, in a way that the first dungeon is at level 80 and you get a new dungeon every 30 levels. So that means they will cut some of the existing dungeons. I'm not sure if this is already live implemented in the Korean servers, but the point is, this dungeon, which is currently for levels 145 and above, will become a level 170 dungeon after the revamp. So after this, all the mobs will grow up, they will be stronger, they will be level 170 mobs. So please keep this in mind in case this happens. The way this dungeon is cleared, the amount of silver, the time it takes, this will all probably change. But for now, this is the way things are. So let's talk about the current state of the dungeon. Doing a full clear of this dungeon, you get around 300 to 350k silver, which would mean around 1 million silver, give or take, in 3 runs. With a good, proper build, you can run this place in less than 20 minutes. Of course, running with a bad build, you get closer to 40 minutes. So we're talking about 1 to 2 hours for 3 full clears. One of the big things people have against this dungeon is the fact that to advance to further sectors of the dungeon, you have to clear all mobs in a certain area to open gates and proceed. You can't just rush. You have to clear an area, advance to the next one. Clear an area, advance to the next one. Don't worry, we'll talk about the sectors and the ideal path on the dungeon in a little while. So who would be able to clear this dungeon efficiently? Most enemies in the dungeon are flying type, so archer builds have a great advantage. Of course, anyone who's strong enough can kill it in a reasonable amount of time. You'll find several videos of Thaumaturge with linker builds clearing this place, just like in any other dungeons, because joint penalty with swell body, this combo increases the amount of silver things drop, but that increases the clear time, and a stronger build needs a larger investment. In the end, you can get away with a basic scout tree at level 175, give or take, with not a huge investment, and get the investment back in less than a week. As you can see, I'm doing a clear with my Doppel, and it's basically just to film the dungeon to show you guys a little bit of how it is. So let's talk about the best routes you should take when farming here. I'll give you guys the information from very good threads from the official Tree of Savior boards. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out after. Read a bit more about how a scout views clearing this dungeon. Okay, starting the dungeon, you should clear the sectors 1 and 2 as indicated in the image. Did you notice that little yellow area in the middle? There are some really annoying little minions there that have a bug where one of their skills can actually freeze you forever. So bring Speller Scrolls with you and activate them before going there. Better safe than sorry. So after clearing this sector, you should see a message saying that a little gate thing is open. The Thorny Gate, Thorny Vines, something like that. Use the Warp Stone and go back to the entrance. From the entrance, move to Sector 3. The gates will be opened, clear everything here and kill the first boss. This is pretty straightforward. Follow the path to Sector 4. Be careful killing everything in your path. Be careful not to leave mobs alive by accident, you won't want that. And remember about the little yellow area in the middle with the bugged mage mobs, in case you haven't killed all of them yet. After you're done with this boss, just follow the path to the end, clear everything and face the last annoying monster here. Get your thoughts and start it all over again. The final boss here drops a bunch of seasonal items, whatever. In a recent patch, IMC introduced a whole bunch of drops to previous dungeons, but most of them aren't really relevant. I wouldn't count on dropping something very good here. If you're farming this dungeon, do it for the silver. Don't count that you'll drop any exquisite items. Okay, let's think back a bit about what we saw here. The 145 dungeon. You have to be around level 175 or above if you have a really good build to take advantage of it. There are a lot of mobs here and 3 bosses. There's a certain path you have to take to clear it efficiently. Okay, so let's think back about pros and cons. The dungeon has a lot of mobs. With a good build, you can start farming it every day at around level 175. Even being a really big dungeon, you can get efficient paths on it. Unlike the 130 dungeon, where most paths are pretty awkward, in this dungeon you can actually get efficient movement. A good amount of daily silver. Getting over 300 silver in an easy to clear dungeon, it's something to take in consideration. For these reasons, this is most likely the most farmed dungeon in the game. Now, some cons are that if your build is bad with dealing with flying creatures, you have a real hard time here. Also, if you don't remember to bring a Dispeller, you may lose a run because of being frozen to death by one of the little mobs in the middle. Okay, taking all of this stuff in consideration, this is my most recommended dungeon for you to farm. If you want farm dungeons for silver and you can clear this one, come over. Enjoy it while it's still level 145. The dungeon level changes will be good, but let's enjoy the advantages we have while we have them. What do you think about the 145 dungeon? Have you farmed it? Do you have any experiences with it? Let me know, leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions. All comments and suggestions are very much appreciated. I really like replying and talking with you in the comments. In case you haven't done so yet, please subscribe so you can keep up with my new videos. Check the previous ones, I'm sure there's some pretty interesting stuff for you there. Thank you so much for the support. I hope I can keep it up, making new videos and creating new stuff for you. Thank you for watching. Have fun and see ya!